What's up, guys? Winter Kills here. Welcome back to a brand new post-commentary duel video. Today we've got True Draco Metalfoe Zoodiac versus Pure Paleozoic. I almost wouldn't say Pure Paleozoic Frog. So this is a very interesting matchup, and you'll see what it is exactly I mean by that when we get to the very end of the video. So make sure you stick around for that. You will not regret it, I promise. And yeah, True Draco Metalfoe Zoodiac, and it surprisingly works really well together. So we're starting things off with a basic zoo combo, at least post the previous list that we've just had, where Norden was hit and things like that. Now the play relies slightly more on cards like Ram and Leica to get the play off to get your Emerald Trident done first turn. But obviously, with the addition of True Dracos and Metalfoes, you actually have a little bit more plays you can make instead of your classic one-trick pony, play that Zoo sort of has right now as Pure. Obviously Pure Zoo can be a lot more consistent, a little bit more grindier, because when you mix all these archetypes together, the risk of bricking can be very high, but the possibility of comboing off to making bigger and better fields is also very possible. But as you can see there, he's able to use Metalfoe's Gold Driver to pop his Ram to revive Rat and allow him to go and do another rank 4, which is going to be Digusto Emerald in this case. I don't think he'll be able to do any sort of pendulum summoning, but he's going to use Leica to revive Ram. Keep that on the board just in case anything goes south, like a board wipe. You can bring something back from the graveyard. He's got the Broad Bowl. Help him from getting completely wiped out. But he is playing against Paleo, so not going to be too much on the offensive coming his way. 4-set back row is all that's going to be played against him. Now, basically, at this point, it's a game of taking it as safely as you possibly can. He'll be able to swing in for 400 from Ram and 1600 from Trident, leaving his Digusto Emerald in defense position. Don't want to hit a battle trap with that, like Quaking, Storming, Drowning. Don't want to lose that Emerald. Using Gold Driver to pop the scale and triggering his Metalfoe's counter, getting to summon out Volflame. And he'll get to set another Metalfoe spell or trap from his deck. Still has a pretty decent board. He'll pass as he was in main phase 2. Over to the Paleozoic player. And what will be the first play to be made? If any, is going to set a 5th back row. End phase. Activating Metalfoe's combination, making sure that he can get it activated before there are any Paleo traps in the grave, so he'll be able to do that end phase, so he cannot chain anything to it. There is Dinomischus in response. He will banish the Trident, and I don't believe he chained his, or no, he did destroy his Metalfoe's combination. And then he's going to activate Unending Nightmare in response. So that could prove to be a little bit of a problem. Constantly getting rid of his scales. On activation, he'll summon out the Dinomischus from grave. And he'll be able to destroy the Archfiend Eccentric, because obviously that is a quick out to any one of those cards on his field and any one of his back row. Forbidden Chalice hitting the Digusto Emerald. He's going to go into Hammer Kong here and then into Tiger Mortar. Going to revive that Throw Blade, put it underneath the Tiger Mortar. Of course, he has the option to put it under the Emerald, but of course that is not a safe bet, as it may not survive the next turn. Threatening Roar as he tries to leave main phase 1. And he's going to pop that Unending Nightmare and Chain in response to get rid of his last scale. Now down an extra 2,000 life points from using that Unending Nightmare, but it has done him some good, that's for sure. Be able to set another, I believe that was Metalfoe's Fusion, and that looks like it's going to be it right there. Too much advantage on the side of the True Draco Metal Zoo player. Just going to take his chances and go into game 2. Setting 3 and 1 monster, not too bad of a first turn for Paleozoic, as where most of us are familiar. They like to start things off by setting everything face down, whether it be monsters or spell and trap cards. Tanky getting things started over here with Thoroughblade, discarding Whiptail, going to Hammer Kong, then Tiger Mortar. Going to quickly put that Whiptail back underneath it, then right into Trident. Taking a bit more of a conservative route as far as, Zoodiac plays are concerned. Dinomischus activated, discarding Gamma-Seal to banish that Trident, and then chaining Threatening Roar to get his Dinomischus on board. There is a Dragonic Diagram, destroying Baobaboon, adding Dynamite Knuckle. Very good combo to sort of come out here now after the Dinomischus has already been activated. Doesn't look like his other trap is too much of a threat at the moment. If it was anything, maybe could have stopped the summon of the Baobaboons off the first Baobaboon, and it's a solemn warning. Maybe figures it's better to not use it on that. Of course, he could probably try and save it for the tribute summon of a masterpiece, but I believe he already normal summoned at the start of the turn. So maybe it would have been best to just warning the Baobaboon. I'm not sure. He could activate, I think it's Heritage that allows him an extra tribute summon, so he could have possibly have gone for Masterpiece. Maybe he's thinking he had Masterpiece since he did not search Masterpiece, figuring maybe it was already in his hand, so can't blame him too much for that. That warning will fall to that Archfiend Eccentric, now going for further Zoo combo here. Broad Bowl on the field with an extra Rat here. And there's Gold Driver destroying Broad Bowl, setting a Metalfoe spell trap. Now we can see all 3 archetypes on the field. You got your Dragonic Diagram, you got your Metalfoe's Gold Driver, and you got your Zoo monsters. There's Swap Frog, activating Combination while there is no Paleo traps in grave, sending a Swap Frog to the graveyard. Swap Frog is the top deck he needed. Wow, that was a Ronin Totem set face down. He'll flip that up and go into an Opabinia, and then activate a, I believe that's Olenoides from hand, to clear the diagram. And then he's going to use Ronin to banish Swap Frog to summon himself from the graveyard, and go into, of course, Totally Awesome. Things are starting to look in favor of the Paleozoic player, getting rid of the Invoker. Don't want him to be able to use that next turn. Standby phase. Totally Awesome being activated. Will he summon the Dupe Frog, or will he just summon something else? He'll send the swap, or summon the swap to send another Ronin to the graveyard. That's a bit better of a play maybe for him in his position. There's Dynamite Knuckle, tributing Combination, adding, I believe, Silvered. One of them, Silvered or Stealing. Be able to swing over the Toad, no problem. Toad will get to add something back. He's got quite a few targets. He's got a Gamma Seal in there. He's got Swap. I think he's pretty indecisive here on what he wants to add. So he adds the Gamma Seal after thinking about wanting the Swap Frog, but instead he puts the Swap Frog back to his hand, figuring maybe that's the better choice. Full set of scales. Popping the Gold Driver, getting himself a search. Adding himself Metalfoe's Fusion. Activating Volflame. Getting to Pendulum Summon 2. And normal summoning Ram. Archfiend Eccentric destroying the Swap Frog, so he will not be able to use that next turn. But of course he does have a Ronin Toad Grave, so he could easily revive one. If he does happen to draw another level 2 monster, or another Paleo Trap or something like that, setting Metalfoe's counter. There's Return of the True Draco King on the field right now. Could revive something from grave if need be. But I don't believe he has any targets just yet. Overlaying for a Broad Bowl. Detaching Rapier, probably going to search Whiptail. Actually, he's going to search, I believe that's like Dragoons of Draconia. I'm not sure what the exact name is. I know it's a low scale, and it's obviously searchable by Broad Bowl, so definitely helpful tech in the situation, able to clear his Opabinia with a Trident. And rips the Swap Frog off the top of his deck. Activates Dynamite Knuckle in response, sending Dupe Frog to the graveyard. He could combo off Trident to pop his Spell and Trap, to pop his True Draco Revival to pop something else, or he could save it for next turn and use the Metalfoe card to pop it and pop something on his field as well. Totally awesome hits the board. The attack is going to go through on the Gold Driver, so he can get the Metalfoe's counter off. And of course, Dynamiscus will be able to come out in response to that, summoning Volflame from deck. It's a very interesting game at the moment. Totally Awesome being activated, summoning Dupe Frog. So now he's got a bit of a protection on his field. The only thing that can be attacked is Dupe Frog at the moment, I believe. Zoodiac Barrage being activated, destroying itself. And I believe he has no targets at this point. Showing his opponent he has no more targets. Overextended a bit, a little bit careless with the zoo plays. He even said it himself. But instead he's going to use Volflame to destroy the Barrage regardless. To put under his Dryad as extra material and set or add a combination from his deck to his hand. And then he's going to play that level 1 scale, get himself a Pendulum Summon. And there he is setting that combination as he should have. The negation is activated on the Metalfoe's fusion. Doesn't want him to have that activated to go into a fusion monster and have that shuffled back into his deck for an extra draw. Figured it'd be better off him saving it. Using Dryden to get around the Dynamiscus, of course, is unaffected by monster effects, but he will destroy this trap card to have the trap card destroy Dynamiscus instead. And there's a Storming Mirror Force to bring out Olenoides. Not hitting all the monsters on his field. Lucky was able to put some of them in defense position, perhaps reading a battle trap in the future. Read it correctly. Swap Frog now on the field, and a Pot of Desires to possibly put him back into this game. It will help him out, hopefully a little bit. He's got the opportunity here to make another rank 2 combination activated right now. While there's no Paleo traps engraved, doesn't want him to net any advantage off that, but it looks like it's going to be hard to be able to stop him from doing that. He's going to go into Anomalocaris, pretty much a win condition. Most Paleo players will not go into Anomalocaris unless they're in a winning position, especially when you compare it with a Totally Awesome like that. Can pretty much pick at his scales anytime he wants to. Be able to run over both defense position monsters, no problem. And then going to activate Anomalocaris to destroy the, I believe that was Volflame in his extra deck. Yep, we'll get rid of that. Dynamite Knuckle comes down, attributing the combination, and he'll add another scale. And I think he might be able to go for a Pendulum Summon here, but of course the Anomalocaris is going to be able to prevent that from happening. Destroying the low scale, and he activates another one, so he's got to use the Totally Awesome on that. Does not want him to get the Pendulum Summon off, because that would put him in a pretty rough spot. Activating Gold Driver. Pretty sure Gold Driver is a 1 scale. So he can Pendulum Summon, looks like 1 is all he's going to go for. Using Counter to add back a scale. Chalicing his Anomalocaris, so his Dynamite Knuckle will die to it. And there's a Reckless Greed, making sure he detaches first so he can get the plus off of that. Drawing 2 more cards. Ronin Totem coming back out for another rank 2, going into Opabinia this time, searching another Paleo trap. Adding Olenoides. Can activate that right from his hand, no problem. Activating Morella from his hand. He can send any trap now, sending Sacred Swords, Revealing Light. He has been able to get top deck after top deck. The draws are real. The Comeback Kid activating another Morella. Summoning another Paleo trap from grave. Very little cards left in deck, but I don't think it matters at this point. Using another Ronin Totem. Going into a second Anomalocaris. That's 3 more pops during either player's turn. And it looks like he is in a pretty rough spot right now. I think that's 4,400 to the face, or 4,800 to the face total. And he'll top deck a scale that he cannot use, or that will at least not help him out. And they're going to go to game 3. This was a very lengthy match. It was over like 50 minutes, I believe. And this this is what I was wanting to show you guys. This last game here. It's pretty interesting. Using Pow Baboon, effect being destroyed off Dragonic Diagram, adding Heritage. You can get 2 draws, returning 2 cards, of course. Now, this first turn board is a pretty good display of what this build is capable of. Invoker starting things off for Zoo combo. That's one of the best ways you can get the Zoo combo started right now. You do not want to use your normal summon. Having to use a normal summon hurts a lot. That's why the Brilliant Engine helps. That's why the engines with Pow Baboon being able to abuse that card a lot helps out, especially with a card like Dragonic Diagram. Gonna go into Broad Bull. Can search a Zoo monster. Is gonna grab Ram Ram. Activating another Diagram. So this field is actually busted, destroying the Ram Ram in his hand to get another search of Masterpiece this time. Going to be able to revive that Zoodiac Rat Pierre from the graveyard, setting himself up with another rank 4. I don't believe he's normal summoned yet this turn, so he's in a pretty good spot. Recycling 3, putting the Tiger Mortar back with, I believe, a Rat Pierre and possibly a Thoroughblade. Back to the deck, he'll get a draw. He's still got Heritage, so he could technically get two normal summons this turn. 1 regular normal summon, and then 1 using the Heritage. Going to use Leica to revive that Ram Ram. And then destroying it with Gold Driver, using its effect again to revive Broad Bull. Setting himself up really well here. And he's going to tribute away Tanky for Dynamite Knuckle, and then summon Masterpiece by tributing a monster and a trap card, and then adding Volflame off the tribute of that combination, going into Giant to finish things off, giving it an extra material, why not, and Raigeki. Anyways, that's going to be it for this one. I'm going to let you guys listen to this audio here, and yeah, thank you so much for watching.
Fucking salty.
But look, I drew into the second Desires, but that was my opening hand. Like, it was the nuts.
That's Yu-Gi-Oh for you, ladies and gentlemen. That's Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's so fucking stupid.